Hi, I can see you talking, but I cannot hear you. Hi, Babs. Is your mic unmuted? Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. I can hear you too. Other than I can't see your face yet.
I decided to audio.
Okay. All right. It's okay.
Okay.
It's all right.
Okay, thank you.
We're just in the test version mode. So
Yes.
we'll be live by 4. So I just wanted to.
That's fine. That's okay.
I think we've got about up to 10 waiting. Okay, about 7.
Already?
7 waiting on the list. Yes. They're waiting.
Okay.
Waiting on us. So by 4, I think we've got just 1 minute to go.
Okay.
So if you can just enable your video.
Now, I already said that I'm not going to video today.
Okay. Okay, I didn't hear about that. Okay, I hope our audience won't be a bit insistent and pushy about that. Okay. We'll crave for their indulgence and understanding about that anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can go around that. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully so, yeah. Hopefully. Okay, so it's 4. We'll start to admit So I think we're live already.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Kunal wants to come in as I think he didn't sign it as. Okay, fair enough. Hi,
Yeah,
Kunal.
can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Hi,
yeah,
how are you?
I can hear you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're expecting Austin to join us as part of he's the moderator for today. So and then we also expect amongst the panelists. So we've got 2 of the panelists in here right now. Okay, so we have got Tosan coming in as one of the panelists. Yeah. You can see him on the background now. So, and then we'll be waiting for Ike as well as Austin.
Perhaps are you able to see the video? No.
Your video would be nice if you can show your face, Kunal.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering why it's not giving me the permission. Have I used the wrong link to get in?
I'm not also very sure about that because
Okay,
I can
let
see.
me just exit and come back in. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to come in as a panelist, just like Winnie, Tosan, and Ike have done as panelists. Hello, Tosan.
Hey, hi.
You're
Bob.
welcome. Good to have you.
Good to be here.
Yeah. Hi,
afternoon.
Bobs.
Hi. You're welcome.
Hello.
Good to have you.
Thank
Hi.
you. Hello, Tosan.
Okay, so we've got Winnie here as well. I have Winnie has asked that she be excused for video for today.
That's okay.
Okay, so I want to believe that that excuse is on the table. We can accept that. So, Yeah. So we'll be waiting for the moderator. I'm surprised we don't have him in here yet. He's supposed to be here. Let me just check in if he didn't sign in as a guest instead of the moderator and the panelist. Okay, Kunal logged out. He's going to log in back. He's been having some challenges with his video. So bear with me while I beckon on okay, Kunal is back. Allow.
Yeah.
Kunal.
To allow for video, because I have used the registered link. Is there a different link for the speakers?
Exactly. Yeah, you would have got.
Okay, sorry, I don't have that. I don't have that link.
I used your email address to set that up. The other panelists, they are on that side. I've got Tosan here. I've got Ike, and I've got Winnie.
Right. What email ID have you sent that invite to?
Okay. Let me see if I can just push that to you again.
Yeah.
Our participants are already here with us, and hi everyone. You've got you are allowed to type in for all the participants who have logged in today. We appreciate you joining the session today.
Thank you.
So your audios are not enabled for the participant except for the panelists. Okay, so we've got Hilary Crowder from Infotools Africa. We're glad you have joined us today. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining in. Yes. All right. So for all the panelists, I'm sure you can all see all the attendees.
Sorry, Babs, you'll have to send me the email on, can I just put the email ID here? If you can just send me the correct link.
Please do, please do.
I've just put it in the
okay.
Chat.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Just bear with me. I'll get that done. Some of the participants need some responses. I need to quickly do that. Okay, so I wonder why our moderator is not here, Austin.
But he's here. I can see him.
You've seen him?
Yes,
okay. He's here now. Okay, good.
Hello, Tosan.
Hi, Austin.
How are you?
Very well. Good afternoon.
Okay. Good. All right. So in that case, we are good to start with the introduction. We are all here. Kunal, you are here with us now as one of the panelists, except for your video.
Yes, I just have to log out and log in again.
Okay, fair enough. But your video is still not enabled. Like I said earlier, Winnie has requested to be excused from video today. So I'm sure that our attendees will grant that excuse. So by way of introduction, you're all welcome to today's session, hosted by Outdoor Republic, Nigeria's premier out-of-home advertising journal. We have with us today 4 panelists and a moderator, as well as my humble self as the host. Our panelists is made up of Kunal, Jamuar, Winnie, Dube, Tosan, Omagbemi, and Ike, Ogbonna. While the moderator is Austin, Efienamokwu. So Austin, I'm going to allow you to take over from here as the moderator, and then you let us have the rules of today, and then you take charge as the moderator. So you're welcome once again, Austin. The floor is all yours now.
Thanks, Babs. It's a pleasure to join you guys again. Kunal, thanks for joining. Winnie, Ike, thanks for you guys joining to the call. So we had a session last week, and part of the conversation, can you hear me well?
Yes. Yeah, you are very audible. Yeah. Please, attendees, if you want to say anything in terms of whether we are clear enough, and then in terms of audios and all that, you can type out here, just the way you typed, and then we welcomed you. You can do your typing as well. But other than that, Austin, I think you're very audible. So you can go ahead, please.
So just to set the tone, we've had a workshop 2 weeks ago where we discussed the impact of COVID-19 in the outdoor industry. Why a lot of the contributors were talking about conversations around short-term and medium challenges. We were of the opinion that beyond just the current challenges of low revenues within the outdoor sector, and largely zero business coming into the outdoor was the most impacted. We've been able to come to some kind of consensus on what should be the next steps for short terms and medium terms. Now, critical for us for the industry is how to now look at the larger issues, which is around setting out outdoor audience measurement metrics, to take outdoor to the next level. If you come to the other media, you have TV. TV is not addressable. Radio is addressable. We have digital that gives really real-time audience numbers. Outdoor seems to be the only medium currently in this market that does not have a consolidated measurement system. So the purpose of this conversation is to let's have a point of view on what we should be doing to start putting outdoor into the right framework for measurement. I'm aware that there's some effort in the industry to create some industry tools to measure outdoor, but it's important for us to understand what it takes, how do you go about it, what are the search and spin learnings you can get from other markets. So from an India perspective, how is it being done? In South Africa, how are they doing their own outdoor measurement? Now, the bigger picture is that in the long term, COVID has exposed a lot of challenges in the media mix from a client point of view. Before now, clients have the opinion of how we ensuring that outdoor is delivering. There's no number to show what outdoor is delivering within the media mix. So this pandemic has opened us up with various experiments to say that, if I'm taking outdoor budgets into digital, I am seeing value. Come next year, we're going to have a challenge whereby budget for 2020 and beyond will now be done, and clients will now be asking for how do we quantify what outdoor will deliver in terms of numbers. Mind you, clients are not going to be more involved in outright delivery of their investment in media. So this now set the tone for us to start looking at how do we come up with a consensus on how to measure outdoor that will give us real time, not even real time, give us some level of audience deliverables. So our panelists, I'll give you 10 minutes each to have a point of view. Then we'll take it to the next one. So Kunal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So let's start with you, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Kunal. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
You have the floor. We're going to mute ourselves so that you can be very audible. So
fair. So essentially, I'm going to talk about how things are in India and the similarities between India and Nigeria. So just at an overall level, if you look at it, India and Nigeria are very similar. It's just a scaling issue, but the problems we face, the way we go about our work, everything, right from population, education, job scarcity, all these things are in India as much as they are in Nigeria. The difference comes in overall media investments. If you look at the population, it's a 1:7 kind of a ratio between Nigeria and India. And the fact of the problem that we face, if I look at it from a Nigeria perspective, if you look at just the reach of out of home, that would be about, almost 100 million people, if not more. That's larger than probably Ethiopia or Egypt as a population. Now, with such a large audience available, if you look at what percentage of the revenue of advertising revenue is coming into the out-of-home medium, it's barely a quarter of that, of the total advertising pie. Mind you, the Nigerian advertising spends has not gone up in the last 5-6 years. On top of that, you've got out-of-home, which has shrunk. Now, if we look at a comparison with the Indian context, India also, there's a similar kind of situation where the increase in advertising investments is happening in television and digital. It's not happening in out-of-home or print. Now, how is, what are the things which are here? And I'm sure that they are pretty much similar over there. Digital out-of-home is definitely dominating the growth. I read somewhere that there are about 11,000 odd panels, and about 10% of that in digital panels in Nigeria. But digital is probably the way to grow over there as well as here. Media is growing, so points of movement. Measurement is something which is becoming increasingly important even in the Indian context. And advertising is moving from traditional to programmatic, even for out of home. What that allows is that if you have a measurement system, it allows you to better leverage the inventory that you have as compared to the way it is being done traditionally. Now, the challenge being faced, of course, Corona has more or less caused that challenge to come up front, which is basically while time spent in home and therefore on television and digital has gone up, obviously the advertisers are looking at those mediums for doing whatever little advertising they want to. I'm assuming that the lockdown situation is also a reality in Nigeria as much as it is in India. So the question then is that, in terms of measurement, there are different levels at which we need to react to this. It's not just that we need to scrap everything and go back and create a new measurement system altogether, and it's not really, that kind of a change is very difficult. What we need to do is look at first, probably if I were to put a 5-stage step to this entire platform, this first step would be about an audit of all the available inventory. The good thing in Nigeria is that every outdoor site is registered. So therefore, the registry is available of the sites which are there. We need to have a new monitoring system put up, which is a common neutral monitoring system, which allows advertisers to map their activities against somebody else. A lot of time when I was in Nigeria, a lot of time the challenge used to be about knowing what competition is doing at any other place. And that challenge exists in India also, where there is a much more robust monitoring system. We still have challenges in terms of, competitive investments. The second is the execution part of it, which is when clients go out and execute a campaign through the agencies or directly, they're not sure of how much of it is being seen. They set up monitoring agencies and all. All these systems need to be automated. Probably that would be the next level. The third level, which I think would be the game changer, is when we look at evaluating billboards in terms of traffic. How much of audience is passing through each site, and how much of it is addressable. Because if I look at Third Mainland Bridge, probably there can be whatever number of vehicles and however many numbers of people going there. But the question is how much of it is addressable. Then after that would be the next stage where we are looking at possibly a method of optimizing. So given that a client has a particular budget and a particular constraint, how can we optimize and give him a better plan as an industry? And the ultimate goal would be to put up a common trading platform for out of home. So that is the long, short distance away. Right now, I think monitoring and measurement, those are the two things that we will need to focus on. Austin, have I taken my time or have I shot over? Austin, you're on silent.
You have 4 more minutes.
Okay, no, I'm done for the initial points that I had, and of course open for other questions.
So what I'm hearing you say is that from a initial top level conversation is to stratify the process to capture, to be in 5, register and do an independent outdoor audit. Look at the current execution and see how we can automate it. Establish traffic, establish metrics that currently that gives us addressable media in terms of traffic counts. Then I'll look at how we optimize our current ad hoc plans, and lastly, establishing trading platforms that will help the
Yes, because that would allow to open the entire market, out of home market, to advertisers. So that would be the final stage. But yes, I think monitoring, particularly the if you look at congregation points like malls, etc., where it is easier to monitor the traffic, those are places that we definitely need to set up measurements upfront. Out of home monitoring will probably recover first. The indoor monitoring or the mall monitoring will come later, because obviously I'm sure the lockdown situation will mean that not so many people are visiting these malls at this point of time. But the the outdoor hoardings, which are the traditional hoardings or the digital hoardings outside, would probably recover first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tosan. Hello, Tosan.
Yeah. Hi, Austin.
Hi. Do you have a point of view? I'm particularly interested in Kunal's 5 layout step process, particularly the one that talks about the how do we get the monetary agencies that already exist, to play a bigger role from an independent monetary point of view, and also from an audit perspective.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for the question. Thanks, Kunal, for the perspective. And here is how what I'm gonna say about all of that. So I've been privileged to operate from the agency's side for over a decade. All right. So I've had the opportunity of doing out-of-home specific media for almost 10 years also on the agency side. And I believe that I have also seen, when they say you have seen it all, I'm close to that, if not at that, at the risk of sounding immodest. So there is always been that challenge, in our market about measurement, and it's a fantastic thing, thanks to Outdoor Republic and for setting this up. There's always been that challenge. It's like someone said at one of your forums, it's as old as their grandmother. So, and I've had the opportunity of sitting in marketing rooms like this, and typically what you hear from the advertiser is, you are asking me to spend so much. Again, when you check on the average year on year, for traditional media, you would see out of home gets a share of 30 thereabout, year on year, if you do an average. And so a lot of money is being spent, you know, on out of home. And there are some players that you get questions like, what is this? Never really been able to those questions. Now, as agency person, first speak to one of those points of organizations or firms in Nigeria who are independent and are doing well, PMKG. And I know that back in the years, in the last decade, I've been part of some certain measurements. At some point, we did something we call the with TMKG then, BSV, weighting criteria like travel speed, cluster around the environment, proximity to competitive billboards, and so on and so forth, visibility, distance, all of those things. And 1 to 100 or 0 to 100, you kind of give a score to different type of billboards. So little efforts to try and justify why advertisers should continue to spend on advertising. But obviously, that, you know, falls in, you know, first generation type of for out of home. Again, we were involved in an effort of Infotools, actually. Then, as an agency person, we conducted travel survey along major corridors in Lagos. In that field to put together a kind of solution that would do GRPs kind of planning for out of home. Again, at a point we realized in 2017 that was not also sufficient to answer the question of moving audiences, because the audiences are very, very dynamic. They are not in one place, you know. Again, the way we have typically defined out of home or locations has been about the locations of billboards. But we all know clearly that what the advertiser is always looking for is to target real consumers who are in motion. And that, you know, mobility is very dynamic. So it leads us to, you know, how do we address a digital age challenge with, you know, a first generation solution, which is very static in nature. Again, there are other efforts in other markets, like, you know, Kunal has highlighted. You can talk of efforts, you know, in Australia, the move through the tool called Move. You can talk about the third generation kind of metrics, the route, the SWA in Britain and in Singapore. You can talk about the fourth generation that is presently generally being deployed today in the US, which is driven by Geopath. But there is also now the fifth generation that is purely digital. Again, to address each of those points, we need technology to now be able to help us put together a digital inventory, okay, automate the process such that advertisers or, you know, brands can be able to, in an automated fashion, be able to do, and media planners and buyers also can be able to do planning and buying, you know, end to end in an automated fashion. Of course, using audience data that is, you know, if you like, real time, that is very credible, you know, and then that gives you capacity to be able to optimize via, you know, several different filters, you know, that you would want to optimize by, you know. So take, for example, maybe an advertiser wants to, you know, do something, you know, in Ikeja, which is, you know, just the city where most of us are, you know, on this platform. And I have a limited budget. How do I know from data perspective, which of those selection of billboards will give me the kind of audiences that are required. You know, that is where optimization comes in. I mean, those kind of things are the things that you typically would have done since about 2 decades now on TV and radio. And then finally, the last one he talked about, which is the big one. How do we have a digital marketplace where, you know, without stress for the media owners, without them having to invest in all kinds of logistical costs, you know, to chase the agency and to chase the advertisers, everyone from a single portal can be able to simply go somewhere where there is demand and supply, and you can easily buy out of home. I think indeed that is the ultimate. That is what the industry should be looking at out today. I would like to stop there for now.
Tosan, you just made it right on time. So what I'm hearing you say is that we have, yes, obviously, I'm aware that we have adult monitoring agencies in the likes of TKMG, who seem to have been doing well in terms of how far they've gone in this market. So that seems to be like a baseline. There are also other outdoor monitoring agencies or some bespoke monitoring service provider with the likes of, I think, MMS and what they call it, Media Track, you know, provide. But if you, based on my experience, I will go with the TKMG conversation.
Brand something also, I've forgotten the actual.
Okay. So from an audit perspective, TKMG seems to be universally acceptable to most people in terms of the metrics they set out to also help you rate the performance of the billboards, you know, so they have some level of digital transformation that they've also taken on to give you real-time view of what level of compliances you are getting. So they might be the baseline for the audit, as Kunal has also pointed. So let me bring on Winnie. Is she there?
Yes, I am.
Winnie, can you give us like a perception, a perspective on what the market is from your own side in South Africa?
Okay. So from our side, we have there's a council that deals with the out of home, and I would think that what they are achieving from what they're doing is it's something that also Nigeria can achieve. You know, you could have like some kind of a diary, because we can see already TV and radio is already being measured. And you could also do the same thing with out of home. Have a diary where you have, and obviously it's not something that can happen overnight. It would be a long process. Say, for instance, you maybe interview for, say, 3 months or 6 months. The one that we have in South Africa is annually. It's released, the data is released annually. But you could have it biannually or annually. And with that, you can easily get the information, all the information that you need to achieve the GRPs. So then the media agencies will then be able to do media planning on this data. So you could have, you would obviously on the questionnaire, on this diary questionnaire, you would measure, you know, the types of trips that are taken. You would have the day of week, the starting point and the destinations. You know, can have the address if you need to, the starting times and the end times, the mode of transports that's being used. And after that, with that data, you'll then be able to get, you'll achieve the demographics as well as the reach and frequency, and subsequently the GRPs on that. So it's something that is doable, but obviously needs a budget. And I I think for something like this, you really need a council to be in control of this. It's not something that we think, well, I wouldn't say it's not something, depending on how much the agency, one agency, a single agency has, but I think it would make life easier if it's done by a council.
Can you give me some kind of insight what the council is comprises in South Africa?
So the council, it's in this case, the partners are the data collectors. It'll be the data collectors that are based in South Africa. There's then the data engineers that have taken the data, the travel data that they've collected, and merged it with the census data. So that's a team based in Spain. You then have, they've partnered obviously with people like us who then convert the data so that the data is, can be analyzed. It's converted, it's formatted, and can then be analyzed and dispatched to the industry. You could also,
sorry, I'm cutting you, just to be on the same page. What did you say will be the current periodicity of the data in South Africa?
So the one that was done, the first release that was done in South Africa was over a period of 10 months.
10 months.
Yes.
How do you now refresh the data in view of the dynamic nature of the market?
Sorry, I didn't get you there.
How do you refresh the data? So the data points, is it done? Are you saying it's done once in every 10 months, or is done every quarterly for more recency in planning?
No, it was the first release was done for those 10 months, and they had then their sample size, and it was weighted to population. And that was for that year. That was the data for that year. So I'm thinking that for the following year, you would then do the same thing, like the way the EMS data is currently released in Nigeria. But I mean, with that said, you can always have, from time to time, you could always do your dips. I mean, you don't necessarily have to do it the same way it's being done in South Africa. You could also design it in your own way, where you have dips now and again. What would be nice would be maybe to say you do the first 3 months of the year and maybe the later 3 months of the other year, so that you cover the different seasons of the year, just to see how movement differs from area to area.
Sounds quite interesting, Winnie. Maybe I can take this conversation with you outside of this, but I'm trying to understand how you start calculating the rating. But let me move on to someone else. I'll come back to you.
Okay, sure.
Okay. IK?
Yeah, I'm here.
So from your experience, can you give us a picture of how we can achieve data capture for outdoor measurement system in Nigeria? You've had some experience without necessarily calling out the agencies. How do you think if we were to go out today to set up a monitoring system for outdoor, what would be the best approach from your experience? Locally.
So I think we probably already have the infrastructure, or maybe some of it. Just like Winnie rightly said, if we had something similar to diaries. So we do have the diaries. We have this respondents. We have their details.
I think we can build up from there rather than coming up with a new set of respondents or fresh database. And it now takes a lot of integration. So you can integrate that with traffic data from FRS, from road safety, data you can get on Google, and from site audits as well. So it is very key that the sites, Tosan mentioned that the people that move are dynamic, right? Or rather, the motion of the people are dynamic. However, the sites are static, and 70 to 80% of the people who move around or commute around those sites either live around those sites and commute to and fro within those sites. So it's very easy to sort of understand the socio-economic profile of a site, for instance, and to say this particular site can deliver for this type of audience, this site can deliver for this type of audience, without using the rule of thumb to say, because we know this place is predominantly this socioeconomic class or whatever, but we now have data to say that if for a product that is speaking to a specific audience, this is where you need to be. And then with the advent of the digital OH, it's now possible to do stuff like geotagging, geopath, where you can also get some very good data and also understand how people are. Understand the exposure of your campaigns on the site. And I would also like to say that while we're talking about audience delivery, to also measure the impact of OH, it's very important to also measure how much impact the copies itself on each of the sites are. So how much engagement are they driving? How much of brand equity are they depicting? How much are they driving call to action? So these are the things that I think these are the data points that we need to start collecting. If not being collected, we need to start collecting just so that we can have a clearer understanding on what exactly each sites are giving as regards audience delivering and bottom line, which is sales.
So I totally agree with you. More importantly, to also look at the performance beyond doing your pre-test and the rest on creative. It's important to see how also consumers are also relating with the communications they're also putting on billboard outdoor. It sounds like something that can easily be done through more of a digital LEDs point of view. I don't know how that can be achieved because you can do a real-time recall in terms of a time frame. It's easier to do that through digital platforms than current statics. My concern will not be, my next question will not be, how do we ensure that whatever we have can, so I've seen a couple of platform owners who own monitoring audience traffic counts in the system. How do we now create a platform whereby you can integrate those data into whatever we come up with to also give us another level of insight?
So I think this then boils down to, we look at for there are markets that are already, that this is already being done, and it takes technology, innovation, and of course the level of passion, interest in trying to achieve this objective. I think the industry, the OH industry at the moment, needs to make a call on what the next few years will be like. That call will involve investment, a lot of brainstorming. But the bottom line is the data. The data is always available to be collected. So whether digitally or conventionally, data is available. It all depends on the methodology that is being used. And is not entirely wrong if you use several methodologies to achieve one process. So if the right methodologies are used and the data is collected in the right format and leverage on existing databases, which we already have in market, plus technology, then I think we're on the right path.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Babs.
All right, yeah. Tosan, I'm with you.
No,
I mean,
Austin.
Austin, I'm with you here, yeah.
So do you have a point of view so far before I move to the next?
Okay. I mean, I will always speak from my side of the divide. You know, I speak for my constituency, out of home advertising. I hear Winnie loud and clear. She spoke to what I've always been used to. Haven't also had the privilege of working on the agency side, on the outdoor desk as strategies for out of home. So I'm aware of those diaries, arms, and all that. My big question has always been, why has it not covered for out of home to be included in such GRP planning? These are the questions I used to ask those days, even when I was in the agency, before I moved back to outdoor. So, and it's the same question I'm asking today. In Nigeria, predominantly, Austin, I've been having a private chat with you along the line. I've asked questions like, who's been sponsoring AMPs and the diaries in Nigeria? You've answered MIPAN and the clients, their yearly subscription to be paid. And I've asked question that, okay, so it's just MIPAN and the client. So BON, Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, MPAN, the Newspaper Proprietors Association. So they are not even involved in this. And then yet you use these things to plan radio, TV buying and all that. So why push this thing back to OAN? Why can't MIPAN and the client also invest in this and get it on the table so that they can include billboards into this GRP planning? And I'm going to throw this question open across board. You, Austin, Winnie, Kunal, Ike, even Tosan. I know Tosan has some other solutions that he will be speaking to, but let's even take it from where we are, GRP planning.
Can I come in here?
Yeah, go.
So for clarity, the way, and Winnie, correct me if I'm wrong, the way ARMS and diary data is collected, it's for ARMS, it's face-to-face, is one-off. Diaries is monthly and then quarterly as well. So it's face-to-face. Now, the challenge would be, how would you bring in specific site-related questions into the mix? Because imagine you're going to meet them in their houses, right? And then you're asking them about billboards 2, 3, 4 streets away, or billboards that they see on their way to the office or to the market. So it's how to sit down and come up with a methodology that would incorporate bringing to life the questions centered around OH. But now what you can only ask them is, when last did you see a billboard? What type can you remember you saw? And all those basic stuff. So I think first step is, if we have, just like Kunal said, if we have audited sites, right? And then we can take that data, use it to even come up with further questions that we can now incorporate into. So we know that this site, because of its audit, this is where the site is. We look at the demographic profile of the database we have and match it and say, assume that these people should be able to answer questions around this billboard. So the idea is, how would you bring them to answer questions around? Because remember, the questions we're talking about here is, did you see this billboard? It has to be specific. It doesn't have to be in general. Was it post? When last did you see an OH advertisement? Was it on bus shelter or bus? It now has to be specific, you know? So that's where the challenge is. And that's where I think as an industry, we need to come together and see how we can address and tackle that.
Okay, Ike, if I may speak to what you've just said. Austin, am I allowed?
Let's go.
Can I go ahead? Okay, sorry, yeah. If I hear you clearly, are you proposing billboard rating, like program rating?
Yes, it's possible. That's the only way we can get GRPs. That's
okay,
the only way
now,
we can get.
Okay, now my next question to you is this. On TV and on radio, there are times that we have new programs. Apart from the usual news bell towers and all that, you have specific programs that have just come up and then they've only aired for like 2 months and all that, you know, and then you find out that they are getting adverts onto those programs, even when you've not updated the diaries or amps, you know. So I could liken that to just that billboard down the road as well. So how do you explain that? Sorry that I'm asking this question because these have been questions that I've been asking way back 2003, 2004, 2005, you know, my days in the agency. So these are the same questions I keep asking.
So to case in point, the program that just started airing 2 weeks ago that has ads on it, it will probably be a case of they have looked at the brand managers and whoever is on the account would have looked at the psychographic profile of the brand and how it connects with that program, regardless of what diaries, even if the program is not in diaries yet, but they know that program, number one, is airing in a good space, right? Is airing in a good time, and it has the right content that connects with what's it called, with the audience, my brand audience. Now taking it down to OH, that is why the site audit is necessary. So if you have a site audit and you know for sure, not just traffic, you know the people that live around there, you now know how they think, what goes on in their minds, what is ticking in their head. You then from there you begin to know whether your brand fits in that space, and then you decide whether or not you want to put your brand there. So it's not. I see OH for now on the demographic level. They just put ads based on, okay, I know that my ad is I want to do a campaign for a smaller SKU of my brand variant, and because I know from a price point of view, it would resonate with people that live in Ajegule or Agege, or forgetting that there are people who also live in those areas that think differently, you know? So again, it's subject to how much information we can get around. So I really like the point that Kunal made around audit of sites, you know, and not just to know who people are passing the number, not just to know numbers now, is to even know the type of people that commute and live around the site. So it then helps you in making decisions on where to place your campaign.
Sorry, can I interject? This is Kunal here.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Couple of points. One, even when I was in Nigeria for a couple of years and I was working there, one of the key challenges which we felt for the out-of-home industry being measured using a diary method was that if you look at the other media which are covered under the diary method, those are essentially in-home consumption, whether it's television, whether it's radio, whether it is print. Most of the consumption in print, of course, it is you don't read more than 1 or 2 titles in a day, but most of the consumption of other media gets in home. Out of home is a transient media for you. You are passing through that media at different points of time. And the biggest challenge is that unlike, you know, a market where areas are very clearly demarcated saying, okay, these are where the rich people are, these are where the poor people are. The one thing that Nigeria is never short of is aspiration. You will find the poorest of poor people wanting to buy the biggest and best of things. So I would like to believe that it's not so much a demographic issue as much as a psychographic one, which I agree with Ike. Now coming to the other methods that are available, which are being explored in different parts of the world, and I think we should seriously, as OAN or whether MIPAN or whoever else, they should be looking at is how do we take out-of-home measurement in a radically different way. I don't, sorry for being a little bit of an outsider on this, but I don't believe that diaries would solve the problem of measurement. They would at best give you some indicator. What happens typically, the first challenge you would have is in terms of sample size. If you break it down by, if I go with what Ike is saying, so let's say I'm staying in Maryland and I've got about 20 hoardings around Maryland area. You would show me those 20 hoardings. Now look at the sample size of AMPS. It's what, 20, 30,000 homes or 20, 30, 40,000 people across Nigeria. Lagos sample would be about 5,000. You're talking about, you know, the kind of sample size you would get for each one of these would be a bit of a problem. That's the first challenge that we would face. The second one is that if we had to change it and really make it cutting edge, we'd probably need to look at using technology in some way. One of the ways in which it is being used, especially for traffic measurement, is mobile data. Actually measuring where people are at different points of time in the day. Now, there are different apps and different companies which provide this kind of data. I'm not sure if that is available in Nigeria. It's something which is definitely there in countries like Singapore. It is being explored in India. That kind of a thing is not restricted. You know, the sample size suddenly from 200 or 300 suddenly becomes millions of people. Traffic data, which is far bigger for a lot of these sites. Then comes the question of how noticeable are those sites? Can they be viewed? From what distance can they be viewed? Those kind of things will come secondary. But to me, the measurement, if the outdoor industry is to really make a step change, it is not to match it to where AMPS is today. It is to match with what the world should be doing at this point of time as far as out of home is concerned. Sorry.
Can I also come in?
Please do. Floor is open.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back to Ike's point to also answer him, and I hear what Kunal is saying, yes. But what I wanted to just highlight there is that it sounds like he's talking of two different types of surveys. So the first one obviously would be to do the audit, which is what the diary would play a role on. So the diary would give you, like I said, you would obviously measure a person from their point where they left and to the destination. So that covers that area that you're talking about. So if there's a billboard on that route, you've already checked that is your reach. So you would always measure that as the reach and the frequency. So if you say you interview this person and say, okay, so as you're going, which route do you use? And this person one says, okay, so from this point A to point B. But now when you're going back, which route do you use? Okay, no, I then use a different route. Then the frequency, you get the frequency from there. Right, so that on its own, that is the type of data that would give you your GRPs. You get your GRPs from, but when you're talking about the effectiveness of, okay, is the billboard visible? Okay, which billboard have you seen? Have you noticed this billboard? That is more of the effectiveness of the campaign. You would need to do, that can be done by a client, or you can still, the council can do it if they choose to, but that can be a survey to be done by a client to see, okay, we know this is our reach on this route, but is the campaign effective enough? Are people noticing the billboards? Are people noticing what we put on transit? Thank you.
Austin, can I jump in also on that?
Yes,
can I jump in, Austin?
Yeah,
all right, fantastic. Thanks very much. So I've had the opportunity of actually sitting in some of the previous forums organized by Outdoor Republic. And I know that there are, we've had clients who have come to, address this same subject matter. And, from listening to a couple of them, it is apparent that what they are looking for may be actually, at variance with most of what probably we have talked about, so far. And I think Kunal attempts to actually address the point from an outsider perspective. So I would like to provide an insider perspective to that. Again, I recall specifically one of them saying to us that, how do you merge offline and online? I mean, that's a very big question. So the advertisers have started to enjoy what digital offers, okay? And this is 2020, people, we're talking about some solutions, that have helped us to move the industry forward up till now from, late 90s to early 2000. Now we've done another, almost 2 decades. It permits me to kind of walk us through the evolution, if you like, of out-of-home measurement, the approaches that I tried to, in summary, just talked about earlier. There is the first generation type, and from an overview perspective, it is simply just people-based counting of traffic. And, it's limited completely to traffic. Then you had the second generation that was satellite-based, but also limited to traffic, satellite-based, that's second generation. And then you had the third generation that was satellite and user panel based. And this, was kind of, traffic extrapolated to demographic data. And it kind of made a lot of sense. And what is still actively, in general being used today in Britain of the routes, the SOA in Singapore falls in the third generation. Then you have the fourth generation, like I said, which, is very rampant in the United States, and that is driven by geopaths. And that is basically driven from a mobile SDK-based counting perspective, and that's what Kunal was talking about. But there is today what we call the fifth generation that brings about 4 different, data sources together. Traffic from Google, not traffic count, but traffic, real-time traffic from Google. It brings you mobile SDK from the apps. It brings you social media. And then there that is able to only understand how audiences traverse from one location to the other. Now, who was exposed to my content, not necessarily who lives around the place, who was exposed. And if we are going to answer that question, it will take us a digital understanding of that consumer journey. And there is technology available today to do just exactly that. Again, I referred to myself as having had some good experience on the agency side. And part of the passion, what was driving us, was driving me at the agency side was, how do we solve this problem in real time and solve it for 2020 and beyond, and not look at it, from the old perspective. Again, I referred to some of the 2 efforts of things that we did, which would clearly fall into the first generation. I think, and I submit, that even when McCann and the TV are actively today looking for better ways to be able to measure audiences, I think it will not be in our interest as out-of-home practitioners to begin to look at what they are trying to leave, okay? Our solution has to be spec to the advertiser is looking for today. And if I've heard the advertiser well, from my experience, and even from this kind of forum, it is that we want to be able to reach now very dynamic and digital audiences. how can you do that except without technology? That is where, you know, that is where the kind of work or efforts that we have put in, you know, at Interaction Channel is now coming in. Like Kunal said, we partner with a company that provides those kind of data for the industry in Singapore called Moving Walls. You know, they are the ones supporting our initiative in this market to provide now, you know, data for Nigerian market. And I think this is the kind of thing that, you know, the industry as of today should look at. You know, how do we reach audiences that are actively moving? And how do we solve the problem of the last mile? Now, when you talk about the reporting of out of home and whether there is an effect, I think the effect can be measured, or the effectiveness can be measured in two basic ways. One of them, which is typically done in digital media today, is what they call attribution. Who was exposed to a content out of home, took an action at a place in retail or a store or somewhere that I wanted them to take an action at or go to. That is possible as a way of measuring effectiveness. Then the other side, like Winnie said, is how do you then commission, you know, agencies, research organizations who can help you really do per campaign detailed analysis and effectiveness, and, you know, monitor so that you can get a real sense of what a campaign has delivered in terms of messaging. But from the, you know, audience perspective, we can certainly be able to, with digital technology today, define what attribution is. Thank you.
Tosan, thanks a lot.
I think thanks to Tosan. Austin, did you see a comment? Did you see a comment for the panelists here? Someone says Tosan demo. That is a brief demonstration of what you've talked it. Have you seen that?
No, it's like, is it demo or it's not like
that's Doom. It seems like Doom,
Doom. Okay.
So,
okay,
well done.
I was trying to say well done. All right. Okay.
Oh, so I think I agree with what Tosan has said. I'm also aligning more to what Winnie has also pointed out. I think we should address add-on measurement in stages. I think the basic point of view that I think add-on needs to come up to speed to is basic measurements. If you have measurements for TV, radio, right, we need to ensure that add-on has a minimum basis for measurement in terms of what will be the deliverable of that particular holding. If you are looking at in terms of reach, so that you can bring add-on to be on the same pedestal with other two platforms of TV and radio. The next level will not be how do you drive the effect? How do you determine the effectiveness of those campaigns? And I think I'm totally aligned with the feedback from Winnie that it might involve a third-party research or client-based solution to get that. But right now, we need to get our dot to be more measurable in terms of what is it delivering in terms of audiences. You know, if we can have a platform whereby we establish this first level and we can list the propositions that Tosan is bringing into it, I think that would be one of the best approaches to bring our dot quickly to speed to other media.
Spot on, Austin. Spot on. I mean, that's my thinking as well. I'm sure we need to get to where Tosan is talking about, but I mean, we've got to start from somewhere, you know. And then if what Tosan is talking about can be delivered ASAP, then that might just be our starting point, you know. But the thing is, it's very, very critical for us to quickly have a currency for out of home in this market. Currency that will help us to begin to measure and deliver the minimum which TV, radio, and the rest enjoy. And they're always being separated when they talk about media that has accountability that is measurable. we all know very well, for those of us that have been privileged to have worked in the agency side, that the whole sample size is not more than 20,000. You understand? And it's supposed to be representing a population of almost 2 million people. So, but that is what they have, and that is what they are still holding on to. So we need the minimum starting point, and then we can ramp up and quickly get to where Tosan is saying. But again, if what Tosan is saying can be delivered on the table ASAP, then, I mean, we always want to get to the destination faster enough.
Can I quickly jump in on that?
Please go ahead.
Some further perspective. So
go ahead, please.
What I'm talking about, is absolutely operational since last year, the third quarter of last year. We rolled out completely, third quarter of last year. What I can tell you, just like Kunal has described, this is not a sample size. This is not a research. This is real audiences, and it is absolute numbers, all technology and digital driven. So it is not a sample size. It is absolute number, pure technology. It ranks shoulder to shoulder with what you find in digital media. It has left completely, the world has moved forward. It has left completely what we used to know. I can tell you for free today that out of home stands shoulder to shoulder with digital in this market, in terms of data, in terms of automation, in terms of transparency, and in terms of accountability today. And I would, just encourage that we look at it from, our interest perspective, which is let the advertiser be able to deliver on audiences and translate that to growth of sales, and of volumes in the market. And then for the media owner perspective, I want to be able to sell the best media opportunity available in the world as of today. Absolutely.
Okay, Tosan, if I may come in here again, I'm sure that someone like Winnie and Kunal, who are from another market other than Nigeria, would be asking this question in their heart. If this thing that Tosan is talking about is available in Nigeria since the third or fourth quarter of last year, so why are we still having this conversation? Then we should be cruising by now. Tosan, do you want to say something about that? At least for their own benefit. What's keeping us?
So basically what you're saying, what are the barriers to adoption of that platform?
Okay, so this is the way I would like to put it, that again, you make something happen. Ordinarily, I believe all of the panel and the room agrees that you should typically have, people coming together to be able to drive this. But what we know from experience is that typically these kind of things, in many cases, do not get done except, someone decides to, embrace the challenge, and which is what we have done. In terms of getting the market to be aware solution is available, that is part of the reason why also I'm privileged to be also agency to agency, advertiser to advertiser since that last quarter year, in an effort to educate, the stakeholders what is available and how to begin to already leverage that for, profit, so to speak. I would say that as we speak to you, we know that there are advertisers already who have embraced the solution, are actively using it. Again, when the harm started, it did not immediately catch on in the market. It took a bit of time. We trust that this is not going to take that long time, because again, the questions are really now at a crescendo where we need to provide immediate solutions. But what I can assure you is that from my perspective, the solution is available, ready to be served, actually being served already, loads of inventory available, data available in real time, refreshed on a monthly basis. This is not an annual kind of refresh. It's a monthly refresh, and the data sources are very robust. 4 different sources of data. So, and the solution in itself, it's is patented, in the United States by the U.S. Patents and Trademark Office. So, this is the best you would find actually in the world, better than even what Geopath offers in the American market. I would say we are looking to collaborate with all the different stakeholders so that we can take this home to the advertiser, get them to begin to see this as what we need today to drive, efficiency going forward, whether it is cost, whether it is reach, and so on and so forth. So that's what I would say. Okay, so I see a question here by Hillary asking, is the output GRP based on this solution? No, the output is not GRP based. GRP, to the best of my knowledge, is simply a calculation of reach and frequencies. What you have coming from this data is number one, as you have everybody that has seen board over a period of time, and that will include duplicate metric, is unique reach. Those who have seen it just once within a specified period, as in this case, maybe a 1-month period of time, that's seen a particular billboard, okay? That is the unique reach. And then, of course, you have your frequency. You have all kinds of other, demographic data in age and gender and so on and so forth. Yes, she's asking if a dashboard exists.
No. I think it's sorry, Tosan. I think it's Kunal speaking in your favor. Kunal.
Okay.
Yes.
This is now Kunal.
Yes.
Yeah, Kunal, please go ahead.
No, it is something.
Yes, I mean, GRP
Tosan is talking about.
Go ahead,
It's
Kunal.
definitely, yeah, it's Tosan. What Tosan is talking about, moving walls is also there in India. They just started operations. They are in Singapore and they are accepted as a method which is being used for measuring foam. Having said that, what they are giving you is the raw data. We need to derive GRP's reach frequency. It can be done because what they are measuring is real time. So the beauty of this data is that it can be, turned and twisted and analyzed in multiple ways. The only question that will arise to my mind is probably the cost. That is probably the element which is holding things back. I don't know if that's the case, Tosan, you can clarify. But I would assume that that is probably the solution that we should be looking at. Tosan, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. So I said what you have on the dashboard is not the raw data. It's a combination and weighted, data across 4 multi-sensor data collected, and it provides you that reach and frequency. Yes, you are spot on to talk about the expensive nature of the solution because of the kind of technology that drives it. You are absolutely correct in that. But what we have done is to partner to be able to bring that solution to bear. And it is, it's a cloud-based solution. It's something that I can readily, easily show, to this meeting as we speak, just connecting to the internet. So it's available for, the industry to be able to leverage that already. Kunal, I hope I answer your question.
Yes. That's answered. Okay.
Okay, Tosan, do you think there's a window for collaboration between you and the existing platform owners, or they are not getting for diaries, to have like a workshop to see how both platforms can work, can be integrated rather?
I do not have, again, like I said, I'd worked with Hilary on a project, I believe in 2017, 2018, to integrate data that collected running a traffic count and doing a travel survey, which we integrated into a tool that we called then MALOS, Media Audience Look Software. And that could do for specific traffic corridors, GRPs, reach frequency and GRPs. So I kind of, I believe, understand what that exactly is. And then what I would say is the partners that we have, people that we are partners, organizations we partnered with today, actually have a proprietary solution. Okay, and that it will be completely exclusive to them, whether that can be integrated. But from the technology perspective, it certainly, would not be able to be merged together from a technology perspective. Seeing that, the data that is, aggregated for the purpose of out-of-home measurement from our, platform perspective is the kind of Google type of traffic data, the type of what is happening in public, in social media, the type of data you would collect from, using IoTs devices, the type of data that you would, that is transmitted via SDK. From the mobile phones. So I do not, from my understanding of the way both platforms work, I do not know that there is a way there can be a sync, but stand alone, I believe that it is something that has been tested in other markets, even in the United States market, and several other markets.
Winnie. Thanks, Tosan. Winnie.
Yes.
What's the point of view?
Okay, so Tosan is right. I mean, we would need to look at the type of data that he has right now, so we can see if it's convertible and you would achieve the results that you're looking for. I mean, we can have a look at it and back to the market, but so far, sorry.
So I'm sorry to cut you, just to give you some kind of challenge, the current challenge you face in the market. So I've had the opportunity to work on brands where you are required to deliver weekly reach numbers, right? You can run within MediaStar, get the weekly reach numbers for a particular brand. So basically, there are certain media principles that presupposes, depending on the various life stages a product is in, there's a bracket or a range of reach levels you must achieve at, say, launch phase, maturity phase, growth phase. Now, most of the challenge we have is from the fact that we cannot capture what outdoor reach numbers deliver from the current plans that we have, right? It's easier to tell a story to a client that, oh, I've done TV, because TV and radio, I have this number of reach numbers. I can draw you a reach curve that shows you how TV plus outdoor plus radio and some level of digital is driving incremental reach. But we can't really do it on outdoor because we do not have a basis for measuring the deliverables for outdoor. What we currently do is to go and use media penetration numbers and plug in there to give a picture of what the whole media combines within a net reach picture point of view. that might not be the right way to go. In fact, it's not even the right way to go, but it's what is available. We need to look at how we can bring in outdoor measurement in a way that is on one easy, accessible platform than to be working out of different platforms and technologies.
Yes, I think that for that to achieve that kind of data, I mean, that's exactly what we're still using also in South Africa, which is a system where you do interviews. You know, it's still a research type of data that you would go out there and interview and get the numbers, the demographics, and we would have to convert the data. That's the system that we're using. And I've seen, I mean, what Tosan is talking about, but I think most of that is more like the big data, which our system wouldn't be able to accommodate. And but if you want to incorporate and you know, look at it the same way you're looking at the current diaries that you have, yes, it would have to be a survey where you go out there and you ask people, like I stated before, and you know, it is quite clear that Tosan's system is way ahead of that. And because when I mentioned that it was, you know, a system, it was going to be a starting point, but sounds like, you know, they're way far ahead already as it is. So I don't know how then you would then look at it to compare the two, you know. I don't know how you would compare the diaries and what currently Tosan, because sometimes, you know, you want out of home to also be compared on an equal footing.
Correct.
You know, so unless I've seen, I can't say much on it because I haven't seen what he has and what is out there. I can't say much about it.
Okay. Thanks, Winnie.
Can I say something here? Can I say something here? Winnie has just spoken my mind. And Tosan, this is very critical. The same clients that you've been talking to and I'm excited about your solution are the same clients that always want to benchmark across media. So hence they want to know, look, we put in as much as this amount of budget into out of home. If we put the same thing into TV, if we put the same thing into radio and digital on ROI basis, how do we then start comparing if the basis of planning are completely way apart and different? So, and I guess that's why Austin has posted that question to you, that is there any way to integrate these two? Like Austin said, it's usually when the brief comes from the client, and I'm sure you also know that being an agency man is usually give me a 0.4, 0.3 on the GRP rating and things like that. And that is how you are graded. And also, I mean, Austin, you can help me out. I left that area for a long time ago, but I know those are the way those things come. You know, it's always usually like that, you know.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Babs. So just like Winnie has said, this is big data. Actually, we process, you know, millions of data points on a daily basis, in real time. And all of that happens in the cloud. Hence, you know, I mean, I think she has already said that if that is the case, then how both platforms will lay on top of each other would be a difficult thing. From the perspective of collaboration, so when we launched in the market, what we have done up till today is to visit all the, again, Austin, you remember I was at your office together, yes. I mean, and IK, yeah. We have visited all the major agencies that we know. Again, we are not an agency. Interaction Channel is an advertising technology business. Now, outdoor measurement is just one of the things that we have capability for. That is a fact because of the kind of technology that drives what we do. We also have certainly capability to merge online to offline and be able to target in real time. You know, when you talk about geo-targeting on mobile, for audiences who we can identify already that have been exposed to content, especially on digital out of home, and they are in a place where, you know, they need to make a decision, what we call the moment of truth. And that is so critical for the advertiser because, and from out of home perspective particularly, because then we can begin to talk about, you know, effectiveness of out of home. Who was exposed? What is attribution? Are we able to extend communication or retarget on mobile? And then how does that drive the end result, which is the bottom line? Are the cases moving? Are they drinking beer? Are they buying biscuits? You know, and so on and so forth. So what we have done is to use a two-pronged approach. Because of the nature of the technology, we would be in the best place to be able to talk about it, to educate the advertiser. So we are certainly doing that. And we are talking to the agencies that work for the advertisers also, so that there can be a convergence, you know. And so for the agency, we expect that we should be able to collaborate together with the advertiser and outdoor owners to say, you have asked for, you have asked for bread. We have actually given you bread and jam, you know, and here you go. So we are absolutely open to collaborations. We are collaborating as we speak with an advertiser on some of the businesses we are running already using this solution.
If I can interject for a second. So yes, the data which Tosan is talking about, there is a tremendous volume of data. There are two levels as an agency person that we would need to go back to the client with. The first is your cost per 1,000 or cost per rating point. That data can be answered even using Tosan's database right now. The challenge is that in terms of what Tosan has right now is basically traffic. The demographic data has still to be imputed on it. That I'm assuming that they are having some method to do it, but if they haven't, then I mean, they will address it at some stage. So once you have the demographic, then you can compare. I don't think it will be possible to include this in the AMPS software as it exists today. The AMPS software is designed for a diary kind of system. Even if you came up with television people meters in Nigeria, it would be very difficult for the existing AMPS software to be able to manage it. So one thing that will be the reality is that as you move forward, you will have different softwares talking about different reach and frequency metrics. What you need is a commonality of the universe. So they should all be projecting to the same universe of audiences. So that would then allow you to compare across. I know there have been lots of studies which have looked at duplication of media and effects of duplication. Many years back, Procter & Gamble set up a very expensive panel which actually measured all media touch points and what was happening in terms of sales, etc. They had to let go of it because of, I think, cost and efficacy issues. But today, I think we should look at each of these media as separate media databases, but hinged together on one common universe population. So that's probably the way forward. The way digital does right now is not part of, their numbers are different from what is used on TV or print, but at the same time, you can do comparison of a cost per 1,000. So that would be my thing. I think what Tosan has is a tremendous amount of data. We can definitely leverage it a lot more.
So, Kunal, can I join in? My concern is the fact that, we're getting into a period with clients who are now requiring us agencies to manage back-end subscription payment for arms and the likes.
Right.
You do not want to create a double subscription model, because if you look at the current industry from an agency point of view, the margins on agencies are quite low. If you look at,
yes,
but guess what, of post-COVID, you do not want to whereby we've come up with these fantastic initiatives, good data points, and so on. We're not able to pass that cost to clients. Client is pushing back to you, saying that, hey, you are the laborer. You should have your tools to do the work. Right. In that case, currently, clients are refusing to pay for subscriptions on basic data for diaries. So agencies are collapsing. Some agencies are bearing that cost because we know the value of what the database delivers for us, right? So
right.
I would want a situation, having been at the client side, I would want a situation whereby I'm paying for one data cost. You also understand what I see in Nigeria. Research budgets have not grown significantly. It's getting lower because the clients are not seeing value, supposedly, from what they are saying. They would rather do what they call it now, effectiveness tests, do your brand equity checks and invest in it.
Okay. The way it works in the Indian subcontinent is most panels are funded by the media owners also. So for example, the television audience measurement is actually funded almost 50 to 60% by the broadcast industry. The advertising industry is only a percentage of the kind of investments that, or of the kind of the total investment. So to that extent, that is where half the funding or more comes from. We need to look at now, how does the outdoor industry get that kind of revenue? Whether you all talk about, there are certain things that you could bring in, like maybe the out-of-home industry says that if you want to advertise on the medium, you need to pay X amount of service charge. This X amount of service charge can be the broadcast or the cost, or it can go towards the cost of paying for this kind of a research. Hope is that with this kind of data, the volume of advertisers will go up, and that should lead to more advertising revenues. And the thing that I would probably say that we should look at as an out-of-home industry currently, we tend to look at the larger advertisers and look at the revenues coming from there. Probably we need to look at local advertising and what percentage of the revenue comes from local advertising. That probably is something, what we call the long tail, that also as the out-of-home industry needs to be developed. But that's from the marketing side of it, leave that aside. From the costing and where does the money come from, I think the out-of-home industry body has to bear some of that cost and also probably look at ways and means of getting that revenue. I understand agencies cannot from you because the client will not pay agencies any higher commission. If anything, they will only lower the commission. So it to be an industry body decision.
So can I add to what Kunal has said? Thanks very much, Kunal. Just to also quickly highlight, the long tail strategy you talked about apparently was something that I was discussing with someone who also happens to be on this panel just 2 days ago. So that is certainly something that outdoor media owners need to begin to look at. But that has to be data driven from my perspective. To also quickly just confirm that, yes, our solution helps you to be able to do the CPMs. And when you really check it, you see that this is arguably just the best media that you find anywhere, in the world with the kind of numbers that you get. In terms of demography, yes, from the data sources, we are able to get information about demography. Remember about apps, which is the SDK data, and then you talked about social. You're able to those data source food lovers, or they are white collar type of course, gender and age groups and all of that is certainly possible. In terms of costs that Austin had mentioned, again, I understand you clearly, but what I think usually or typically drives the conversation, cost deliver. Again, you mentioned that, probably budget on research is going down, by the year. And that is probably because they are also in the place of just saying, this is what we have seen. And which is what, the technology that we bring to bear actually transcends. It is going beyond, these are just the numbers you will see at a billboard, to what is the attribution, is what I'm doing making sense? Of course, that is all driven from the perspective of, deep insights into the journeys of audiences that helps you to, even in the first instance, especially from the digital screens perspective, be able to buy programmatically and, do those kind of deployments that is data, driven. So you can do, have data triggers of any different types, based on what you want as an advertiser. And you can really be precise in your targeting. And when you are precise in your targeting, then the chances that you are speaking to the right people who will potentially, who have a more propensity to take an action is just higher. And if a platform or a solution is delivering for an advertiser, the question of cost really does not become a primary thing again. I mean, those who drive, the autobiographies and the Rolls Royces of this world, they don't basically say, it's moving me from point A to point B, or those who ride in the first class and business classes. It's not about the movement, it's about what they are getting.
Okay, I think Tosan's
from the solution.
Internet is okay. Yeah, Tosan, you're back. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, you're kind of dragging. So, I mean, what Austin about, as well as Winnie, is very straightforward. And Tosan, you might have to come back on Outdoor Republic one-on-one to speak specifically to this your new solution. But what Austin is saying is the fact that where we are right now, subscription to the diaries, ARMS, and use of media staff for the GRP planning and all that. The subscription from each of the MIPAN member agencies costs some money on a periodical basis, and such costs, the clients more often than not don't want to bear the cost of that. They feel it as part of your deliverables. You've called yourself a media specialist, and you want to convince us that this medium and that medium delivers and all that. So you need to come with your tools. So they probably will not want to pay for another, so how do we bring all this together into one single platform? And that's what we're talking about. But again, like I said, the conversation with you would have to go on. This is new and it would come to play. However, I want us all as panelists here to take note of question and answers. It's different from chats. If you look through on your computer or if you're using your phone, you will see Q&A. I want us to click on it as panelists and see questions that are directed to us and kind of answer those questions. I think we have 2 questions. Can we all see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so if you click on it, you will know which one has been directed to you. We've got about 2 questions there. I can see the first one is for Winnie, while the other one is to all the panelists. So Winnie, do you want to take the first one?
Yes. Okay, so what OMC is doing here in South Africa, like I think I've already covered that the data is research data. Okay, it still does have the big data, which comes as in the satellite imagery. So that's also incorporated in it. So that it's still big data, but there's the research part of it that can still be analyzed, where the interviewers there's still a questionnaire that goes out to people. So I don't know if I'm answering the question and what clarity Valentine's looking for.
Okay, I'm probably is going to probably give a follow-up if he's not satisfied with the question.
Okay.
So the second question, do you want to go first on it before the rest of the panelists will go? This one is from Omo Abunene.
Okay, so other panelists. Okay, no, I'm not so sure of the global guidelines, but what I would say is globally, and what I know that many, what you would be looking for as an industry, is that whatever you're measuring is comparable to what everybody else is measuring. So if everyone is measuring the GRPs, you also want to be measuring the GRPs the way everybody else is calculating them. How you go about the systems, there's nothing wrong with you coming up with your own system that works for your industry, because you know your market, you know their budgets, and you know the stumbling blocks thereof. So I don't think it should be a case of global guidelines, because everybody has started somewhere with this. And I think many countries are still also testing their systems to see if it's working for them. I don't think that there's been, at the moment, the global standards, because what I see happening in South Africa is different from what Tosan has mentioned, Root, and what the Americans are also doing. So you come up with a system that also works for you, and just make sure you're measuring it the same way everybody is measuring.
All right. Thank you, Winnie. Any other panelists wants to talk to that question from Omo Abunene? He says, are you aware of the global guidelines on out-of-home audience measurements meant to introduce consistent and realistic measurements of audiences for out-of-home advertising around the world? How aligned are these solutions to this? That's his question. I'm sure we've all seen that. Kunal, you want to say something?
No, my point of view is that I think Winnie was right on that every country has its own set of systems. But essentially what we are looking at is three things. One is the audience measurement in terms of the volumes. The second is in terms of the target group profiling. And the third is in terms of the monitoring. Those are the three elements that we need to look at. And I think if we are getting that, it doesn't matter, there aren't any global guidelines per se. These are probably what we should be looking at to begin with.
All right, Austin.
But I think from my own perspective, I think in the immediate is to have a conversation with like a next follow-up workshop or session with Tosan. Let's see what Tosan has. We need to also engage, I think from our own side is an oversight. We should have invited one of the monitoring agencies, particularly TKMG, to be sure that the baseline metrics that they use to, do monitoring are consistent with what everybody expects to see. And then have a conversation between them, Tosan, possibly Winnie, as per next steps.
Okay, fair enough. I agree with that. Sorry, Ike had to leave us. He has to leave the office and beat the curfew from the island back to the mainland. So one of the participants has been one of the panelists, sorry, has been excused. So just so that the attendees will know that one of the panelists had to go. All right. So Austin, I agree with you with the proposition for the follow-up, but the floor is open. If there are any other further questions, you can quickly throw in the questions. Otherwise, we're about rounding up. Austin has already mentioned what is very critical. There's need for a follow-up session after this so that we can achieve the purpose of this first session. But Austin, before we even round up, if there are no other questions, we can just summarize what are the takeouts from this session. So I leave that to you as the moderator.
What I've done is to capture points from in no particular order. So I started from Kunal. Kunal established the need for us to set up a 5-stage process of having the current inventory audits of the outdoor industry. Set up a clear-cut execution and an automated process to see how these are currently running. Establish a traffic count that we'll use to see the current delivery of various apertures in various locations. We need to also to look at how to optimize outdoor plans, and most importantly, establishing a trading platform. Yeah, just also re-emphasize the need to have an independent monitoring setup, which is where TMK comes in place. Which other one again? Winnie has also identified that from a South Africa point of view, you need to set up, a council was set up in South Africa for both data collection, analysis, and also orders in there. These are some of the points I'm able to put. I don't know if there's any other stuff you were able to capture. My expectation is at the end of the day, we'll have like a recap and we can share with every stakeholder as per next steps.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, a parting word from each of the panelists, if you have. The floor is open as we round up this session. We've done close to 2 hours already. That's what we promised to spend. So who wants to go first? Winnie, Kunal, Tosan.
Okay. So what I can say is that, I mean, we're having these conversations because we know that out of home has been neglected for a very long time, and you need it to be out there, and you need the planners to start planning on it. I just hope that from these conversations, solutions that are going to be quicker, affordable, obviously will come out of these conversations, so that, because as soon as you get the buy-in from your clients, then you can always improve from there, or you can always take it to another step. But it's important to understand the market and how flexible the market you're dealing with is. So that's all I can put out there, that the quicker you make the decisions and the less troublesome you make it for clients, I think the sooner you'll get to the results.
Okay, my point of view, in many ways, COVID has probably, or the coronavirus has given us a chance to reset a lot of things that have been done in the past and probably need to be redone in a different way. there is no better time than now for us to look at a different way of going about what we were doing, a way which is more accountable through data, and a way which probably from the cost perspective, yes, we need to look at how we will get that costing done. But it's definitely, this is the right time to make any changes, because whatever we do now is going to shape the next, whatever, 10, 15 years. For too long, outdoor industry has not got the due respect or recognition, given the amount of investments that happen in Nigeria on out of home. And I think it's probably the right time for it.
Thank you, Winnie and Kunal. Tosan?
Yeah. So I think I would not have said it better than the way Kunal has put it. This is our moment. This is our opportunity to change the course completely for OH, and we should take it. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Austin?
So let me not sound like as if I'm over stressing the points. But the most important of all, if you ask me, within the Nigerian context, we look at the urbanization growing on in this market, is the need for adults to play a bigger role. From an aging standpoint, outdoor is of importance to us, not just only from a medium of advertising, but also from ensuring that various revenue targets are also met. We have seen improvements and evolution in other media. I think this is the time for us to start putting outdoor in its right place. And if we get this right, the next steps would now be to activate as quickly as possible. I think we've spent enough time talking about it. Right now, we should be thinking of positioning ourselves on getting these things done before we get into 2021. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Big shout out to all the panelists. We really appreciate your time. Every one of you, you've been awesome today. And all the attendees are also expressing their gratitude for all the nuggets that you guys have dropped here today. Outdoor Republic appreciates all of you. We couldn't have done this by ourselves. As the publisher of Outdoor Republic, on behalf of Outdoor Republic, I want to say thank you to both the panelists and the attendees for making this a reality today. I remain yours truly, Babs Fagade. Thank you all. Have a great evening. See you on our next session.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Look forward. All right. Thank you all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.